Welcome back, INYF family. Yankee Jeff with It's Not Your Fault. Thanks for tuning back into my recovery enabling codependency channel. I do appreciate you so much, INYF family. You guys are amazing. Like, subscribe, leave a comment, and the notification bell's right over here. Let's talk a little bit about Bruno the Alligator. As I mentioned before in the past, I grew up in South Florida. And in South Florida, the neighborhood I lived in, there was a gentleman who had a pet alligator. Now, of course, alligators are very prevalent in South Florida, but you're not really supposed to keep them as pet. Well, this guy had found it as a little pup, or I guess whatever you call him, and he kind of raised it on the DL. No one really knew about it. And he had it in his backyard, and he fed it, and he trained it, and it got big, and eventually got to the point where everyone knew about Bruno the Alligator. And Bruno the Alligator was this gentleman's pet, and he walked in the neighborhood. He used to put it on a leash and walk around the neighborhood. He had put a little Miami Dolphins jersey on the back of it and everything. It was just kind of fun, but he was very docile. He used to put a chicken leg on his nose, and he wouldn't eat it until his master, middle school PE teacher at Drift Middle School in South Florida, he would train him, and he wouldn't eat the chicken wing until Mr. Davis told him to. Now, that was cute. It was interesting, but if you do that with a dog or a cat or some sort of other domestic animal, it's not that big of a deal. It's a trained animal, big deal. This was a wild animal. This was a wild animal that in many cases is a dangerous animal as they get bigger. That was the uniqueness about Bruno the Alligator, is that here's this wild animal that is being and acting like a dog or a cat. I went in the Navy, came home on leave one time, and I asked, just out of curiosity, hey, how's Bruno the Alligator doing? Oh, you didn't hear? I'm like, I want to hear what? Said, oh yeah, he bit his owner. I said, what do you mean he bit his owner? Yeah, he used to attack his owner one night. And I was kind of like, huh. That's interesting. That's sad. That's so strange. And my grandfather looked over me and said, what the hell is so strange about it? He's an alligator. What'd you think he was going to do? And it got me thinking, just because you dress up a dangerous animal and you learn how to do a couple rudimentary tricks and you tell your buddy, you give it a funny name and you think that maybe that somehow it doesn't become a dangerous animal anymore. Of course it's a dangerous animal. If you turn your back on it, it will attack you and it could hurt you. And how this relates to addiction enabling and codependency, you're like, yeah, get to it. What's the connection? Well, the connection is this. We, codependents and enablers, hopefully taking our due diligence, and we're going to our meetings and we're working our steps and we're getting involved, and we hopefully get a sponsor and we're doing what we're supposed to be doing, staying on the beam. Just like with an addict, if at any given time you turn your back on a dangerous animal like addiction and drop your guard at any given time, it will attack you and it could hurt you, possibly kill you. So we have to make sure that no matter what something appears to be, if our loved one gets sober, acting right, but they're not going to meetings, they're not actually in recovery, they just kind of did it cold turkey, but they look like they're acting and behaving like the normal person would act like, but they're still under the control of addiction, that's very dangerous. If they don't go to meetings, and if they don't get involved in recovery, if they don't actually follow a program, a 12-step program like AA or NA, and they think they can do it on their own, that in essence is turning their back on a dangerous animal and let their guard down for 1 minute, and that addiction will jump on them again and hurt them. And that's a fact. Our situation is a little bit less dangerous, but this is important. If we at any given time, just because our loved one maybe our loved one's even in recovery, maybe they're sober for many years, God bless, I hope. But if at any given time, we enablers and codependents turn our back on the fact that we have to keep on taking our medicine and keep on with our program, because there's a possibility, and I hope it doesn't ever happen to any of you, there's a possibility that your loved one falls off the wagon. And if they do, how are you going to react? How are you going to react? And if you're not going to meetings, and if you're not going to working your steps and in constant contact with your higher power, this is where it gets dangerous. This is where old behavior becomes your new behavior. Old behavior becomes your behavior, and that's not good. Serenity should never be taken for granted. Just like sobriety should never be taken for granted. Serenity should never be taken for granted, because if you turn your back on the issue and think it's gone away, will never raise its head again, but you aren't in practice with your program, you haven't been keeping up. It almost would be like if you were a trained to be a professional baseball player. And you trained, you weren't very good, and you eventually got good because you had to practice. You became a very good player. And then you stopped training because you retired. You're comfortable, you're happy. But then you get an itch to go back into it again. And you try and go back into it 1 or 2 years, 2 years later, and you're out of practice, you're out of shape, and you fail miserably. We have got to make sure we keep our powder dry, us enablers and codependents. We have to make sure we stay vigilant, stay focused, and be aware of the fact that that alligator at any time can turn back around and snap you in the behind. Okay, so be ready if a situation develops where your loved one hopefully finds sobriety. You don't stop going to your meetings just because they're sober. Okay, don't do that. Because I've said it many, many times in the past. The 12-step programs of AL-ANON, 12-step program of AL-ANON, which is based on, of course, on AA, is immeasurably helpful for every aspect of your life. Every aspect. I mean, it can work with everything. Everyday, day-to-day life, work, family, anything. So don't just feel like if your son, daughter, husband, wife, spouse, whatever is sober, that you're good. You're good. I can stop going to these meetings with the bad coffee. It's not like that. Okay, you're in this for like forever. Okay, if you're serious about it, you're in this forever. All right, because again, addiction is something that doesn't go away. It just gets treated. Right? If you have a debilitating, deadly disease, you can treat it and live a long, healthy life. But if you ever stop taking your medicine or stop taking your treatments, bad things can happen. And I'll leave it at that. We have to keep on maintaining our focus on the task at hand. The task at hand is not to fix them. The task at hand is not their sobriety. The task at hand is your serenity. Okay, no matter what happens with them, you've got to stay serene. Whatever happens to them, you've got to stay in your zen, your peace zone. You have to stay in your happy place. Because otherwise your life flight can be taken and extinguished. We don't want that to happen because life is better with you in it, right? You specifically. You. Life is better with you in it. So that life flight should never be taken away from anybody. But I just wanted to make sure everyone knew that it's not good, A, to have a pet alligator, and B, never turn your back on the situation at hand. The situation at hand is your serenity. It's never something to be taken for granted, lightly, or that it's going to be there forever. Okay, guys? Thank you so much for tuning in. God bless you all. Keep coming back. It works if you work it, and let it begin with you. By all means, say a prayer for the prayer. Say a prayer for old Bruno. God bless, guys. I'll talk to you later. Have a good evening. I'll talk to you soon.